Hi everyone, it's great to see you.
This is a great time to prune your roses. They're still dormant and you can really see which parts are pretty much alive and which parts aren't. Now, if you think they're all dead, don't give up hope. They still might look more alive soon, but come with me and I'll show you what I mean. So here we have a pink Eden climbing rose. Climbing roses often put on quite a lot of growth. I only put this in the ground last year. And you know when you buy a rose, they're not very tall. So when I look at the rose canes here, which you can easily tell they're roses because they have the thorns here, this one is still pretty green. And that means there's a lot of life in here. Now in your rose canes, you might have some like this. This has a little green here, and then it's kind of brownish down there. That one I'm not too sure what it's going to do with. And then there's like this one. It's dry, it's brittle, it's dead. And usually you can really tell. Usually they're really crispy. If you're not sure, you can leave them, not the end of the world. But if you're sure like I was for that one, you can just take it and cut it down as far as you see. So I'm looking at this branch and I'm like, it looks dead and crispy all the way down. So I'm gonna take it all the way out. Now when I clipped it, it's green inside down there. So that has some life in it down there. It probably will send out another shoot. Whew, but this part looks like it's done. Okay, then I'm gonna look down here some more. And you know, the idea was, this is a climbing rose. I thought I'd interweave it in our obelisk here with our clematis. Okay, Dan, can you see the obelisk? It's tough. Poor Dan. I'm like doing all this stuff and I didn't really tell him ahead of time. So having this big long cane here, I really want to cut it back and do a better job tying it up to the obelisk a bit. So I'm gonna cut it back to about here. Boom, done. And remember with roses, they come back. You cut it down too far, when you buy them at the nursery, a lot of times they're cut to like this tall. So you're good. This one, I can't tell if it has any life in it or not, so I'm gonna cut it back pretty far. And then there's a couple more little pieces here. Now I recommend that you wear some gloves, at least regular gloves. I just stabbed myself with one of the thorns. This is a thorny one. Okay, that is better. And this year I'm gonna try to train it better too. Okay, so let's take a look at the clematis vine here. It did great last year. It bloomed beautiful. This is a Jackmani superba, and I think there's another kind in here. I'll have to look up what kind it is. Now, the reason I planted this here is because I wanted to hide the ugly pipe coming out of the wall. So I'm gonna only cut it back to right above there. I don't even care if I got as many flowers on this part. I'm just happy to have leafiness covering that up. But then it gives it plenty of growth to put new growth on and get new flowers. Now the nice thing with your clematis is there is no particular place that you have to cut it. Just sort of grab it, pull it out, and hope for the best. Cut it down, and you know what? Say you don't know what type of clematis it is. You could either just leave it like this. It's fine. It'll keep growing. It'll bloom on the new part up top, so you might have mainly flowers up the top, but that's not the end of the world. Or you cut it down to the ground, and it might not bloom till much later in the season, or perhaps even miss this year blooming. But it's not going to kill it. So it's always reassuring to me to know that I'm not going to lose this plant. It might not have the best show of flowers if I did it wrong, but not the end of the world. And once you make that initial cut, you're just gonna have to pull it off. This is so fun. Woo! Okay. And even as we come down here, I'm going to sort of thin it out a little bit. It will be putting out new tendrils before you know it. And it's so, so beautiful. Now I tend to sort of tuck it back in so that when it starts to put those tendrils out, it knows that I want it to grab right on here. And with a clematis, they like to twine around real skinny things. This is too thick, but they'll twine back on themselves to hold themselves up. So most of the time, they're gonna be fine. There's all these dead leaves here. You can sort of pick some of them out, but you don't even really have to do that. It's going to, just with the weather this spring, push those dead leaves off and you'll be all set. Oh, that's much more in control. Let's take a look at another clematis. So I'm here at our other obelisk with, look at these adorable seed pods from the clematis blossoms last year. I love these. They look like little Dr. Seuss hairdos. They're so, so cute. These are great to use in arrangements too. You can clip these and they just last so well. They're soft, but you don't need them for this year, so it is going to be time to trim them off. And then I know that these two clematis, I'll put their names up on the screen. One is a little mermaid. These are gonna bloom on last year's growth. So I don't want to trim much. You can trim a little bit. I'm gonna do more wrapping around here. I'm gonna take off the seed heads. I don't want to just drop them. They're so cute. Who knows? When I had Yelith and she was little, we would do like arts and crafts with these. We'd go in and make them little people, that kind of thing. So much fun. Okay, there we go. I'll just put these over here. And then I'm going to sort of look and go, oh, we just have a tangled mess. But that's okay. I'm going to weave some of these in and out. Believe it or not, they already have blossoms set in. So remember, I said they're blooming on last year's growth. There's your buds for this year. That's where we need to keep them happy. So I'm not going to cut any of those. This looks good. It just looks a little out of control at the moment. However, once that nice green leafiness comes back, it's going to be great. These only get to be about 8 feet tall, so they're not going to get huge. Sometimes I snip if they have a weird part to them or they're facing the wrong way. This looks good. I like it. Now I have a rose bush here too. This is a Gabriel oak rose. Also put this in last year, and I'm going to give it a nice hard prune. I'm going to take off some of the branches. We're sort of stuck in here. Now my idea was to loop it over and have it grow into the obelisk. So we know that roses, when they're growing to bloom and it's a climber, will often need to go, oh, this is already broken, look at that. Okay, I'm gonna take it down. If it's broken and you see damage from the winter, nothing you can do about it, just take it off. Okay, ooh, piece of clematis, we'll put that up here. Okay, and I'm just going to come down and just like we did with the Rose of Sharon, I can see little, I guess there are branch buds here, and I'm just going to clip above one of those. Just those little bumps that you see on the branch. And I don't want crossing canes again. That doesn't help anybody. And these that are kind of way down here, that's not good. Oh, that looks much better. I'm going to take it a little shorter because I want these to become really strong at the bottom. There we are. I know, it looks like not much, but it's going to do great things. So look at this. This is so exciting. This is the return of my hellebore. Hellebores bloom really early, and we have these adorable little blossoms coming. But you'll notice there's like these old droopy parts. That's last year's leaves. And now that it's putting out the new leaves, you can just clip those back. and it tidies up your hellebore so much, just making it look better. Now, is clipping these absolutely necessary? No, eventually they'll just dry up and blow away, but it helps your garden look nice. Now behind it here, we have vanilla strawberry, which is a panicle hydrangea. Panicle hydrangeas bloom on this year's growth, so we can cut it way down. Last year I cut it to about this tall, and look at how much it grew. These are wild growers. Now, there are some that are newer varieties that get to be maybe 4 or 5 feet. This one gets to be about 8 feet. And it's big, and we have branches everywhere. So I am just going to go through and take everything back. And I'm gonna take it back pretty short because honestly, I don't want this to overtake my garden. You can tell that it's slanting that way because it's looking for sun. This is kind of a shady corner for it. Maybe not the best spot for it, but you know what? It still had a couple blossoms last year, and I'm hoping for more this year. I have my peony rings around here to help support it so it doesn't fall over. Now is a great time to put supporting structures around this because there's nothing on it yet. It's easier to do. Okay. And once again, if you have crossing branches, good time to get rid of those. You want to keep your pathways free, and you want to make sure you have enough space for the other plants that you're going to be growing around here. If you see any real dead wood, you can definitely take that out. I'm not seeing anything that's dead. If you're not sure, then don't assume it's dead. It's probably coming back. Hydrangeas take a while to come back in the spring. So I'd always wait until end of May before I'm really sure that something is dead when it comes to a hydrangea. Okay, we're gonna move along. This looks good. So here I have 3 macrophylla hydrangeas. These are Seaside Serenade Newports. Love them, one of my favorites. And if you look at the tips here, these are all buds for this year. And we have some buds down here. It's so exciting. This particular bush I've already cleaned up and pretty much taken off the old pieces. If you have some like this that are hanging on from last year, you can just snip right below the old blossoms. Or like this one that's bent over right where it's bent. If you want to take it down a little further, you're going to follow it back until you see a bud and then clip above the bud. And this just tidies everything up a bit. I just throw them on the ground because then we'll come through and we'll clean this up with any of the yard debris in our big spring cleaning. The only other thing that you might want to do here is if you have pieces that are bent over or really crossing each other, you might want to take those out. They're not going to do well for you anyway. There we go. Oh, it looks so much better like that. I love it. Okay, so down here I have a broken one. In fact, Dan, I'm going to ask you to come on over here with the camera.
Videoing this or?
Video it. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So point at what we're doing.
I'm going to take this piece off and this piece off.
Point one more time.
Here and down here.
Okay.
We can cut it if it doesn't work. Okay, so when I look here, I see this piece that's broken. I'm going to cut that off. Don't need that. And here's one that's crossing and rubbing. So I'm going to take that one off. That's the kind of pruning you're going to be doing now. But basically, not time to prune your macrophylla. So here I am with my other panicle hydrangea. This is berry white. Loved this. Look at how big it has gotten. So once again, we're talking about 8 feet that this can get. It's massive. And you can do a hard prune to your panicle hydrangeas. Your panicle hydrangeas get to be these long cone-shaped flowers. So I'm just going to go through and take them all down. Take out your aggression by cutting down your panicle hydrangeas here. It's actually quite fun. Once again, be careful of your eyes with this because they're very pokey and there's lots of branches around. Some of them are quite thin too, so it's really easy to miss these. And these are going to bloom on this year's growth again. So I'm not worried about taking this, not like the macrophyllus that have those buds already set on. These won't bloom until end of the summer into fall, and so they have that whole summer to grow and set buds, and it makes this pruning so much easier because you really don't have to worry about making a mistake and cutting off buds right now. It also makes them a lot hardier through the winter because we're not trying to keep warm weathers and not kill the buds that are set on. Those buds aren't set on, you're good. So I'm looking at this now and I'm thinking I'm thinking that was too big to cut. There we go. I'm thinking there's just a lot of branches here. I don't want this many branches. Quite truthfully, they just get all tangled up together, and I'd rather give them some air in here and thin it out a little bit. So anywhere that I see that it's crossing, I'm going to take them out. Or that it's going to cross, going to take them out. Any of these really tiny ones, a lot of times people say like if it's smaller than a pencil diameter, that's a good idea. This is a pretty young bush, so a lot of them are smaller. But I have some pretty big ones in here too. And those are the ones that I really want to keep. So we're getting there. It's starting to breathe. I mean, whoops, don't fall into your bush. You want to make sure that you have good airflow here. You don't want any fungal diseases, any powdery mildew, that type of thing. And that is going to be promoted by too dense foliage. So by doing this, you're actually making your bush healthier. So even though it seems kind of mean to be going through and taking out these branches, you're actually doing the right thing. And you'll notice I have the peony rings around here too to give it the support as it gets taller. Okay, that looks great. Let's move on. Hiding back over here by the fence, I have a rose in a pot. This is a Gertrude Jekyll climber. Love this. 3 million very sharp thorns. And, well, I got it when it was about this tall. It's a climber. And I wanted to stretch it up and over here. However, I sort of forgot about it last year and it just went everywhere. So when that happens, just cut it back and try again the next year. So I'm going to take these really long leggy stems and I'm going to be very careful of the thorns, and I'm going to go back down, very careful of the thorns, to where we have some of the bigger branches. Some of these look a little damaged from the winter. Those are the first to go. And then I'm going to keep a few of the larger canes. So once again, I'm getting rid of small canes because that's just going to block the airflow. We know that our roses tend to get black spot, which is a fungus. You don't want that. I don't want them to be crossing either. I like that this one's already sort of climbing there, so I'm going to keep that one. Take out this one that's crossed. Grab it with your pruners if you need to. Okay, these I think I could work with. Okay, I'm going to take them down a little bit. There we go. Looking good. Now back here, I have 2 other roses, and I'm going to bring them out because these are for my bags in the pot. So usually when I have roses that I keep in planters, and in this case I have them in grow bags that are going to go into more decorative pots, I put these in my shed to overwinter. However, I forgot about these and left them over on the side of the shed. And you know what? They're looking pretty good. Very proud of these roses here. So that's good. You could luck out like I did and have your roses do okay if you leave them out in planters, but that's not a guarantee for them. So once again, I'm going to go in and I'm going to cut them back, and I'm going to give them a pretty hard trim here. These are not climbing roses, so they get to be 3-4 feet tall, and I'll have them as a centerpiece somewhere, so I can take out some of these little pieces. Once again, you don't want too much junk, so you sort of, yep, there's some little branches, and we do that. I thought that was a giant bug and it was a leaf, but it made me jump. Okay, we got some moss, some leaves. This is not bad at all. It's crisscrossing a bit in here. Take some of those. Looks good. I'm going to have to look up what kind these are. I don't see a tag. Oh my goodness. Let's take this down. Now this one has some dead pieces to it. Like this I can tell is dead. Let's see how that just came off. This, dead. If you have that, you can cut those right off. This one's dead, but there's a lot of good growth happening here. So I'm just sort of cleaning it out. And once again, if you're not sure, just leave it for a while. They'll come back. And then you'll know for sure. Okay. Oh, we are looking good. Roses bloom off of this year's growth, so we're good. Oh, I love this. It's so exciting. Okay, I have a lot of work still to do. I have some more hydrangeas to trim off, but things are looking good. Mid-March is also the time that you want to do your first application of fertilizer. So I'm going to use Osmocote, not sponsored. Any time release is fine. A time release fertilizer looks like little tiny balls. Here we go. That's what it looks like. It has a coating over the fertilizer so that when it rains, it puts out some of the good plant nutrients. And it's going to last a couple months, so that is fabulous. I think you're supposed to use 1 scoop for a 4-foot square piece. That's a 2x2. So all I do is I go through and I sort of sprinkle in that 4-foot area. And then I grab another one and we just sort of sprinkle it over here. And you can walk through your whole garden. It's actually very rewarding and fun, and you are doing that first feeding of the spring. So we've done a lot of pruning today. I'm going to go finish up the fertilizing, and I hope that you have a chance to get out and take a look at, how you can cut a few things back, how you can get things ready for this spring. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.